This is Algebra 2, Lesson 80, and this lesson covers direct variation as a ratio and inverse variation as a ratio. Okay, so we've already covered direct and indirect variation. Remember that for direct variation, we would say when something varies, A varies directly to B, it would be A equals K times B, okay? Our variation, our scale factor is K. Okay, for inverse variation, it would be A equals K over B, okay? So those are the equations that we already know. We're going to learn a different way to do these problems. So if A varies directly as B, okay, if A is 50 when B is 5, what is the value of A when B is 7? All right, so first of all, the equation is A varies directly to B. Okay, there's our variation right there is K. Okay, so if A is 50, we're going to say 50 equals K times when B is 5. Oops. Okay, so we just replace A with 50 and B with 5. And then we divide and we get K equals 10. That's how we've been doing these. If B is 7, so we're going to say A equals, our K value is now 10, times B, which is 7, A would equal 70. Okay, so that's how we've been doing them. There's another way to work this problem. Because the statement that A varies directly to B also implies a ratio equation. So we can make a ratio of that. We can say A1 over A2 equals B1 over B2. So our 1s are going to be here and here. And then our 2 is going to be the ones that we're trying to find. Okay, so for A1, we would do 50 over A2, we don't know. Okay, B1 would be 5, right? So see how I've got my 50 and my 5 are on both of those tops, and then my B2 would be 7. And then all you do is cross multiply. So we got 50 times 7, be 350 equals A2 times 5. Then we divide by 5. 7 times 5 is 35. 70 equals A2. All right, so you solve it just about the same way. It's important to understand that there are two ways to work these problems. Some authors of upper-level science books use the first approach, whereas others use the second approach. Okay, so you may see it either way in a science book. All right, let's try another example. Cost varies directly to the number purchased. If 12 can be purchased for $78, so cost varies directly means we have A1 over A2 equals B1 over B2. Okay, so we're making a ratio. 12 can be purchased for $78. Here's our A1. Here's our B1. How much would 42 cost? Okay, so that's the number. That's going to be, here's our number. Okay, and this is our number. So that's A1. This is going to be A2. All right, so our A1 is 12. Our B1 is 78. Our A2 is 42. And we're trying to find B2. All right, so now we cross multiply. 42 times 78. 3,276. I don't think I did that right. Let's see. Hang on. B1, B2. Let's just work this out and see. 3,276. 3,276 equals 12 times B2 divided by 12. 273. And that is the answer. Alright, so that's how you work that one. Pretty easy. If we're going to do it the other way, we would say the cost varies directly to the number. Okay, and if the cost is 12, okay, my number, whoops, nope, other way around. If the cost is $78, we'd have K times our number, which is 12. Then we're going to divide by 12. K, our variation, equals 78 divided by 12. 6.5. Okay. Alright, so if we have our cost, we don't know what that is. 6.5 is our K, so I'm just filling into this equation right here. Our cost, we don't know. I'm using this. How much would 42 cost? K is our variation, which is 6.5, and that's going to be times 42. So we do 6.5 times 42. 273. Either way, you're going to come up with the same answer. Okay, so there's two different ways to work these. Personally, I like ratios. I feel like they make more sense. All right, now, how do we do an inverse ratio? Blues vary inversely as yellows squared. If 100 blues go with 2 yellows, how many blues go with 10 yellows? Okay, so when something varies inversely, it would be A equals K over B. Remember, there's our inverse one right there. So our blues vary inversely as yellow squared. So that would be B for blues. I'll use the lowercase. Varies inversely, so our K up here, as to yellows squared. All right, to make that into a ratio, we would say A1 over A2, and then we flip the other one. So we would have B2 on the top and B1 on the bottom. All right, so we're going to use both ways to solve it. Let's use this one first. So we're going to say B equals K over y squared. So if our B is 100 equals K over y squared, our y is 2 squared. That would be 100 equals K over 2 times 2 is 4. So then we multiply times 4. And we have K equals 400. All right, that's the first step. Now we know what K is. Now we have to figure out our second part. How many blues go with 10 yellows? So if we've got our blues, and our K is 400, and we've got 10 yellows squared. So we would have B equals 400 over 10 squared is 100. 400 divided by 100, B equals 4. Alright, so there's our answer, the first way, the way that we already know how to work inverse ratios. Now let's try it with this new way where we turn it into a ratio. So this one's just our inverse variation that we've already done, and now we're going to use a ratio to do it. Alright, so our A1 is going to be here, And this will be our B1. Okay. And then that one would be, okay, so our A1 is blues. That'll be blues 1. And then we would have blues 2. Okay. And then I'm going to use the lowercase b right here because that's too confusing because we're using A and B anyway. B for blue. Blue 1s to blue 2. And then our yellow 2 to yellow 1. And then those have to be squared. Okay. Alright, so our blue 1, our A1 right here is going to be 100. So that's our top. It's this. Okay. And then our top of our yellow, our first yellow, is 2. But we have to square that. Okay. And then our bottom is blue 2. We don't know that. That's what we're trying to find out. And then we need our yellow 2 squared. Here's our yellow 2, 10 yellows. Okay, so we're going to have 100 over B2 equals 2 times 2 is 4. 10 times 10 is 100. Did I do that right? No, I have to swap those. Hang on. Oh ho ho, this is where these get confusing. Alright. Alright, hang on. Here we go. Okay, so we got our blue 1 and our blue 2. Our blue is 100. And our blue 2 is the one we're looking for. Okay, so now our yellows, they have to be swapped. So this has to be yellow number 2. That would be 10 squared. And this one would be 2 squared. See how they're inversed? It doesn't vary directly. We've got 1 on the bottom and 2 on the top. That's the key to working these. Alright, so now we're going to do 100 over B2 equals 10 times 10 is 100 over 2 times 2 is 4. So then we would cross multiply and we would get 400 equals 100 times B2 divided by 100. And we'll get B2 equals 4. So we came up with the same answer, just 2 different ways to do it. Just make sure you flip it on that one if you're using that way. You got to flip that second one. Alright, so work those practice problems and then I'll come back and work them for you. Alright, so here's our first one. Both of these are inverse ratios. So the cost varies inversely as the number purchased. So we've got cost equals K times the number. Or we could say cost 1 over cost 2 equals number 2 over number 1. Okay, we flipped that second ratio. If 15 are purchased, that's going to be our number 1. For 225, that's going to be our cost 1. How much would 42 cost? This is going to be our cost 2. So we'll just set it up. Our cost 1 is 225. Our cost 2 is, oh, that's not our cost 2, that's our number 2. Alright, so cost 2 is what we're looking for. Number 2 would be 42. And our number 1 would be 15. And then we just cross multiply, so we get C2 equals, wait, cross multiply. C2 times 42, 42, C2 equals 225 times 15. 3375. And then we have to divide by 42. 42, 80.35, $80.36. That's the answer to the first one. Now, if you were going to work it the other way, you would say this one. So you'd say cost, which is 225 equals K over 15. Then you would multiply times 15. $3,375. So our K is going to equal 3,375. And then we would say our second part would be cost equals 375 over 42. Right? So then we'll just divide by 42. And we get the same answer. $80.36. So either way you work that, it comes out the same. Now, I'm pretty sure at the beginning it told you use the equal ratio method to work these problems. So you're supposed to use this first way. All right. Next one. Blues vary inversely as to yellows. All right, so we're going to have blues and yellows, blue 1 to blue 2, and those vary inversely. So we're going to have yellow 2 to yellow 1. We're flipping that second one. And they're squared, so we're going to have to square both of our yellows. 100 blues go with 3 yellows, so our 1s are going to be 100, and 3 down here, squared. Okay, so there's our yellow 1 right there, and our blue 1 right there. Okay. Now, how many blues go with 10 yellows? All right, so blues is what we're looking for, and we've got 10 yellows squared for our Y2. All right, so that would be 100 over B2 equals 10 times 10 is 100, and 3 squared is 9. So then we cross multiply and we get 900 equals 100 B2, and then we divide by 100, and we're going to get B2 equals 9. So that'd be 9 blues. I'm not going to work this one the other way because we already know how to do that, and you're supposed to use this way to work it. All right, that is it for lesson 80. Thanks for watching.